Yes. Hey, what's up? Can you hear me? Got a new mic today. I'm testing it out to see if it works. Just let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Awesome. What's up, dude? One. I have not done this live thing before, so it's kind of weird. It's like being on a phone call that you can't hear the other person on the line. So I don't really know what to do with these yet, but I just wanted to test out this feature and see if the microphone works. It seems like it is. Should probably get some headphones. I didn't even think about that. Absolutely, yeah. Raw milk, and they the brand that I get, Raw Farm by OP, they're going to be putting out a cottage cheese launch soon, which is pretty exciting. I don't usually get excited about consuming products, but I eat tons of cottage cheese, and I like the Raw Farm products. I like their raw cheese, their milk, so pretty excited for that. Maxing on a Jefferson curls blindfolded. I don't think that'd be that hard. You just have to. I mean, I feel like you just be able to do that. Maybe you get disoriented. I don't know, but I did screw up because I actually have the tendency to want to crane my head up so that I can look down and see what my depth looks like, which actually throws off the spinal position a little bit. Sometimes that can actually throw you off a little bit because you ideally, your spine kind of goes where your head goes. So ideally, even though your neck's on for load, you want to start with the neck and kind of keep that tucked so that the rest of your spine stays straight. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, while we're on the topic of raw milk, I was going to make a post or video about that at some point, but it's probably like not a high priority. One of the reasons that I like that stuff that no one ever talks about, everyone mentions about like the nutrients that potentially might get destroyed with pasteurization, whatnot. I don't think too many of us are not getting gains because we are lacking particular nutrients. Probably the potential to reduce allergies for kids. I think that's more important. But the biggest thing is, if you look at what pasteurization was invented to deal with, or rather what it was first implemented to deal with in the dairy industry, they make it out like, there was just a bunch of disease being spread by raw milk. But the reality was that they were trying to cut corners by feeding cows leftover mash from whiskey distilleries. So what they do is they'd have like whiskey distilleries in urban areas, and they would just try to put a couple cows in a dirty pen out back. So this is like you're raising cows like in a city and like this muddy, nasty, filthy pen in a city eating whiskey mash, and these were very unsanitary environments. The cows would tend to get really sick, and tuberculosis would be spread that way. But the issue, this was not, your grandma's dairy farm out in the country so much. It was never an issue then. It was designed to deal with issues that came from, extremely irresponsible raising of cattle. So where I was going with that and what I was thinking about posting on, I don't think enough people care, but what I was thinking about posting on was just that if you're actually raising your cows to sell raw milk, then you actually have a financial incentive to want to do everything right. You're not going to cut corners. I mean, pasteurization, like no matter what you say on the label, I mean, greenwashing is real. There's a financial incentive to cut every corner you can, as long as, you're safe doing it. So, I still would rather buy grass-fed than not. But I know that they're probably doing the bare minimum they need to get that label in most cases. Whereas if you're selling it raw, you actually have the financial incentive aligned with the customer's interest, because you absolutely don't want anyone to get sick, because that's the end of it for you. So I trust folks that are intending for their dairy to be consumed raw. I trust that they're doing everything better in terms of animal welfare, in terms of generally what's best for the animals is also typically better for the environment. Having them outdoors on real ecosystems rather than sitting in a feedlot and what have you. So that's why I do the raw milk thing. And in addition to, I think it probably is better for my kids. Okay, what else we got? Oh God, functional patterns. I just saw something by those guys today. I don't even want to talk about them. They're not even really worth responding to. I guess I should. Like the only response I made to them was not even a response to them. It was just kind of like clowning on everybody else by saying like, hey, look, you don't want to be, hey, squat you need to repent while you can, because you don't want to be categorized with functional patterns, because he's also a Jefferson curl hater. But that little guy hates on everything. He's everything, all you see all these videos and this little like nerd skinny bald head just like is stupid. And, okay, what do you do? Here's my thought on functional patterns, and really not just so much him, because everybody knows he's a clown, but like people like him. Like when people start talking about how humans are designed to move and how their training system is better, you got to just get specific with them as far as like what measurable attributes they're saying that they're allegedly training for. They're going to talk about people are designed to run. Oh, okay. So how fast can you run? How much faster does someone who's doing your system run than when they started? Like, let's see that. Oh, humans throw things. Okay. Well, how far can you throw a football? What's your, how fast have you timed your fastball? Like, so with folks like that, you got to just get specific as to what their claims are, because obviously with lifters, like you go work with a lifter, they're going to tell you, they're not going to make, super precise claims, but they'll look at you and say, I can probably put 100 pounds in your squat. I can probably put 200 pounds in your squat. Oh yeah, I can definitely add 10 pounds of muscle to you. Or, mobility folks who are doing like good mobility. Oh, you can't touch your toes? Well, I can get you to touch your toes. You want to get your palms flat on the floor? Yeah, I got that, and you can measure that. You can look, okay, I'm reaching down full pike now. Can't even touch the floor. Now I can do a palms floor pike. You can measure all that stuff, right? And with guys like Natty Aguilar and all of his ilk that are talking about like how humans are designed to move in the real world, it's just like, okay, let's get into some kind of metric, and you just show some kind of you can't. There's no metric by which your nonsense shows anything. It doesn't happen. So yeah. By the way, see, you guys are still like, I see more comments on the audio. That's kind of what I'm doing. Hopefully I can record this so I can listen to it myself. I probably do need to get the little headphone things to go with this. In fact, I know I do. Cool. Dude, I mean, as far as raw milk becoming a political symbol, it's not so much the raw milk. It's that you get a system where, I mean, the system is kind of so bought into dividing people into two easily manageable camps. You have like the skinny fat leftist types who are into health in the way that the system tells you that you're supposed to be into health, and they allegedly care for the environment. They're doing all the things that you're supposed to do for health, but they're obviously going to have bad physiques because they're using just essentially very poor nutritional strategies, trying to eat very grain-based diets, avoid protein, all that good stuff. And then on the other hand, you're supposed to have like a bunch of obese conservatards that like to roll coal, like that think pollution is a good thing, want to destroy the environment as much as possible, and just hate physical fitness, think going to the gym is, well, I'm not even allowed to say what but what they think going to, basically they're supposed to just be rolling around on, if they're not rolling coal in their diesels, they're supposed to be rolling around on a rascal scooter because they can't walk. And if you have everything neatly divided up into those camps, everything's very controllable. They hate each other. They have a battle of bumper stickers and everything's good to go. then you get somebody who actually does care about health and does care about the environment. Like they want their cows to be raised in a manner that is sustainable and, you know, ecologically friendly. They want health, but they're doing that outside the standard framework. That's dangerous, you know? So, I mean, you wouldn't think there'd be anything political about raw milk, but it's a pretty easy way of showing you've kind of left the reservation. You're not within the you're not within the boundaries of what's easy to control. So it kind of is going to be that way, you know. I don't know why this is a raw milk stream, but how do I get this thing to go away? Kidney, no. Kidneys honestly are gross. I don't like eating kidneys. They taste exactly like you'd expect a kidney to taste, and I don't like them. I eat liver, definitely. Hold that thought. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so check it out. Sprouts started carrying this because I would always just buy the regular Skylark prepackaged beef liver, frozen packets like this. I really like it like this because it's so easy to prepare because it's already like pre-sliced and frozen. You just put some oil on a pan, get it nice and hot. Literally put it on one side for like 30 seconds, just enough to brown everything, and then flip it over. It should still be basically raw on the inside, but seared on the outside. That's with some salt. I mean, that's far and away the best way you can make liver taste. Super convenient, super tasty. If you think you don't like liver, there's a really good chance that you were just overcooking it or undercooking it. Because I've tried the raw thing. It's not that appetizing, to be honest. But once you have just a nice little surface here, but the rest of it is still raw on the inside, perfection. And the frozenness helps with that because it prevents overcooking. It's all neat. You know, it's all neat and tidy. There's no blood everywhere because everything's frozen. It's just like neat and tidy until you sear that surface, flip it over. That little bit of heat will just thaw it out. That's the way to go. It's not a superfood. I mean, okay, so it probably, if there is any such thing as a superfood, it probably is, but it's not. I mean, it's not going to give you radical changes in, you know, your body composition or anything crazy like that. You know, it's got a ton of vitamins and minerals. That being said, most of us probably get plenty of most of that stuff, but it's tasty. It's fairly cheap. This one's a little bit more expensive. I don't know how much I trust it. I mean, this is the same brand that you're all used to seeing in the grocery store. So there's a very high chance, I would say, that this is like a little bit greenwashed, like what we talked about earlier. But my thoughts on the greenwashing thing. I mean, obviously, if you have to choose between something that's probably greenwashed, like maybe just some like really commercial brand of milk that's claiming to be grass-fed organic, and you got the real deal, like raw, like the folks that actually have skin in the game, like you better be doing it right, or else someone's gonna get sick and you're gonna get sued. So if there's a choice, obviously take the better option. But I do think with some greenwash stuff like this product, you know, this business is taking a little bit of a risk by putting out a higher end product for, you know, more money. If everybody just says, "Oh, this is probably greenwash, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to buy the cheaper one," then, you know, where's the incentive for the industry to move on? I think, you know, we have to be a little bit incremental about this. Show some interest in a product that, you know, may very well be greenwashed, and then that will open up a, you know, that'll kind of open up a pathway for someone to, you know, get around them and say, okay, you like that product? Well, this is the real deal. That's not quite there. This is like 100% straight up, you know, sustainably. What's the buzzword? It's not sustainable. Whatever they say, regeneratively raised. This is like full on regeneratively raised grass-fed beef liver frozen in a package, and it's like $2 more expensive. Go ahead and buy it, and I'll buy that then. But in the meantime, I'm pretty stoked because, for a while I just buy the Skylark, regular stuff, but Sprouts has started carrying this stuff. So if you go to Sprouts, you should look that up. Sprouts is pretty good. But kidney, no. I've tried a bunch of other organs. I used to live in the valley where there was a Super King, which is an Armenian chain, and they tend to have more organ meats. I've tried sweetbreads, which are thymus glands. They're pretty cool. I really like beef heart. It takes a lot of preparation. Like there's a bunch of like kind of white chewy stuff you have to cut off. I guess ventricles or some shit. I don't know exactly what the terminology. I know what to cut off. If you gave me one, I could prepare it. But it's actually really good. It tastes like muscle meat, just a little bit spicier. If you're not into organs, maybe you might still like beef heart because it is very much like a nice lean muscle meat with just a little bit spicier of a flavor if you prepare it right. If not, it's gonna have a bunch of chewy stuff. It's nasty. But if you cut off the right parts, it's actually gonna be really good. If you just kind of look at them when you're buying them, you'll kind of see the ones that are more edible meat and the ones that are not. So if you're trying to get into organ meats, beef heart is definitely a good recommendation, but it's hard to find. I don't have any stores around me that sell it, and I'm not that committed to trying to go get any. Like, I don't think this nutrition stuff is like a game changer for bodybuilding necessarily. I mean, the main function, if there's any value that I find in it for pure bodybuilding, I do find that when I eat liver, at least a couple times a week, I feel like it lowers my cravings and hunger a little bit. I feel like getting those added nutrients tends to make me a little bit more satiated all the time, but that could be placebo, But I have noticed that consistently, so I do think there's something to it. God, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to manage this little screen. This little thing keeps popping up. I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys. We're kind of experimenting with this whole. I haven't done the YouTube live thing yet, so I'm trying to figure out how this works. Feel free to shoot any questions you want while I'm doing this, and if anything's weird on sound or anything else, let me know. Yeah, I mean, as far as functional patterns, I don't see them claiming any results. I see them like talking a lot of trash about everything else, but I mean, they talk about some people that had injuries or health or issues that were recovered. But I mean, that, to be honest, I hate to say it, that's kind of low hanging fruit because I mean, a lot of people will talk about, oh, I rehabbed so and so. That's not really. I mean, yes, it's wonderful. Obviously, if you're injured or you have some kind of issue to have that fixed, but in a lot of cases, these issues will clear up on their own in many cases, and sometimes you just have to do nothing and they clear up. Sometimes you just have to keep somebody baseline active. So, I mean, if you're trashing every other exercise system, you really need to show, I think, some kind of performance or some kind of measurable improvement, not just, oh, this person got better. Because, I mean, people get better on their own all the time. Turkish get-ups. High rep Turkish get-ups. I don't like going too high on these just because, I mean, you think about the time it takes to do one rep of a Turkish get-up. I mean, that can be easily 30 seconds to do one rep. So you start getting into crazy high reps. I mean, you're getting into like times that would normally be reserved for runs, not weightlifting. I tend to prefer to go heavy on them. I mean, just like any other lift, you're already going to get a ton of time under tension for this exercise. So that should kind of factor into your rep selection. I've gone up to 10. I think that's a little bit silly. I have gotten better results, under 10. I mean, even a single gets you plenty of time under tension. I think Turkish get-ups tend to be really misunderstood because people tend to go too light on them. A lot of people don't really know what to do with them. Some of them classify them as mobility. I mean, why would it be mobility? What tissue are you taking to the end range in a Turkish get-up? Not really any. I mean, if it's helping you to get stronger, you'll be able to move better. If it's training stability in a joint that you're having issues with, it'll restore stability there. That can improve your mobility, but it's not really a stretch, so I wouldn't call it mobility. And I think a lot of people just, what it is basically it's a shoulder exercise. It's basically a semi-static peak contraction for your shoulders. I think it's actually beneficial for your side delts, but you have to load it. I mean, that's not going to be for everyone. I mean, does everyone want to have a heavy barbell over their whole body where you could drop it on yourself to develop their shoulders? Probably not. But I mean, if you're going to use it properly, I think you do have to go heavy on it, and that's going to be for fairly low reps just because of how long the thing takes. I do think there are some unique benefits to doing exercises where you're putting heavy weights overhead like that. I think they do have a role in, like I said, side delt development. I think there's a reason why a lot of the old timers had very good shoulders. But I mean, depending on where you are, might be more efficient means of doing that. I'd go a little bit lower reps, honestly. And higher weight. I'm not telling you immediately jump the weight up, but aiming at going a little bit heavier. How tall are you and what's your walk around weight? 6 feet. Right now, I think I'm 220, 221. I'd say a third of the way through a cut. I went up to around 228 to 230 this winter, bulking. And partway through the cut, we'll be probably down, depending on which body fat we're talking about, hoping to be down to 215, 210 maybe by the end of it. Yeah, absolutely, man. The pullover definitely needs to be kept alive. Somebody mentioned in the comments that I haven't done any videos on pullovers on here. I've been putting most of that stuff on Instagram because that's more my native platform, but I do plan on doing more YouTube content going forward. I think I've got plenty of reach on Instagram. Obviously, this is kind of a low-hanging fruit where I need to improve, so I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on YouTube moving forward. It's a little bit harder for me. I don't do the video editing stuff as well. Obviously, I just got a mic today. Again, keep letting me know if there are already audio issues or if it sounds good or whatever the case may be. That's kind of the point of this. But yeah, so I'm going to focus more on YouTube now. So I will be trying to film some stuff in the sideways style that y'all like instead of the upright version that I'm used to. And some of that will be pullovers because there's a lot of nuance to that movement, and I think they're fantastic. Oh yeah, you got the poster child. You got the you're talking about the ancestral blend or whatever that is. That stuff is good. I like it personally. I was hoping I was going to be able to smuggle that into the wife and kids food, but they are little princesses with their peas, and they were not having it. They know. They knew there was something healthy in there. What the hell? Anyway, okay. Jesus Christ. One of my neighbors must be having relatives over, and nobody normally plays weird music like that. Anyway, best exercise for hips. This is from blank. What specifically are we talking about? Are we talking about like glute size? Are we talking about the hips do a ton of shit. Best all around. I mean, if you're trying to get your most bang for buck, just most improvements to hip mobility, let's assume that's what you're going for with some hypertrophy thrown in. My vote would be the Cossack squat. It's going to be really difficult for some people. You might have to scale into it. I mean, you can even use hold on to bands or something to scale if you don't have the mobility right off the bat. Scale into it. One thing that I really like doing with Cossack squats is using the Zercher hold or else the goblet hold. Either one of those, they allow you to keep the weight in front of you, change your center of gravity so that you can kind of offset some mobility limitations and get into the movement a little bit. I'd say if we're looking for like bang for buck hip mobility just in general, Cossack squats, but I mean, really there are so many functions like, internal and external rotation, all that stuff. You're going to need, if you really want to improve your hip mobility, you're going to need a more comprehensive routine that incorporates a number of different exercises. Singing, dancing, muscle, 30 seconds per rep. I'm assuming that's a Turkish getup question. Yeah. I mean, if you're going for a fairly heavy Turkish getup, yeah, it's gonna take a minute. I don't know if you guys saw this, but if you looked at Rogue did a Turkish getup challenge a couple of years ago, and some of the best guys got up in the neighborhood of the 230s. And yeah, if you look at these guys, most of theirs were very pretty long reps. It's not. We have an idea of what like elite form looks like on exercises that's based on either Olympic weightlifting or powerlifting, and it's just like there's this kind of one technique that you practice to execute perfectly in that in that second that you're doing the technique. But then when you get into some weirder exercises like Turkish getup, it's not like that. You're not. It's less like you're doing, like you're practicing like a punch or a kick from martial arts, like this one technique that you're going to execute flawlessly, and more like learning how to fight. You're kind of going with the flow, going with your opponent. Whatever your opponent does, you compensate for and adjust to. It's almost more tactical it's almost more strategic than pure skill, if that makes sense. So yeah, they get a little weird. You make some weird little adjustments, and yeah, it takes a minute. Do I do cardio? Oh boy, this is the I'm being accused of taking performance enhancement. As do I do cardio? Well, I didn't by accident. I did cardio when I was a teenager. I thought it was a supplement. They told me it was a supplement that would help me with judo, so I did it, and I regret it. I didn't get any gains from it, but I do have to admit that I did try cardio when I was a teenager. Dude, you're huge. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't get nearly as many fake natty comments as some people do, but I appreciate being called huge. Have you ever tried bending horseshoe? No. Yeah, I've never tried any of the tearing or bending tricks. Some people try to get me into it. I've got so much stuff on my plate already. I've got so many goals that I've got a long list of things I want to try that that I haven't gotten around to yet. That's not up at the top of the list. This summer, I'm going to be focused back on mobility a little bit more. I tend to like to do mobility. So my goals by the end of the summer, hopefully I want to get a front split, and I want to just improve my mobility for bent press and hopefully get my bent press up to a fairly acceptable number. I've got the number like 175, 185, 195. I've got that in mind as a goal. I don't know how realistic that is, but I'm just going to work, really hard on my external rotation. You see my external rotation. It's kind of trash right now. That's not even good enough for the movement I'm trying to do. So I'm out there every week, working my weighted external rotation and stuff, trying to get that better, trying to get hip mobility is huge for that too. So yeah, like I say, that's kind of the approximate goal right now. At some point, I'd like to get back into parkour. I've got the Golden Grip Shop sending me some grip stuff, so I'm going to try to finally build my grip just a little bit because my grip is actually terrible, believe it or not. So I've got just a ton of stuff on my plate. I would like to do that at some point, but the cool thing about grip, though, is you can get into it really old. Like, that tends to be an old dude sport, so I know if I put it off into my 40s or something, like, it's still fine. Like, my dad was making grip progress. He had all the Captains of Crush grippers in his 60s, and he was making progress, So grip strength is kind of old man strength. So I know I have plenty of time in my life. It would be nice to have a good grip, but I feel like while I'm technically middle aged, but while I'm still fairly young, I should try to, get my splits, get my parkour, get all that fun stuff, and then try to have a crazy grip when I'm old. Is old school bodybuilding about the execution of the lifts? RDLs will grow your lats if you don't keep them locked as if you were. I don't know. I mean, what is old school bodybuilding? It's such a broad category, you know. All these guys were doing things very differently. I mean, the same, or even the same guys would be doing different exercises differently. The cheating principle was very big in the silver era. Guys would like to do, you know, cheat curls and various cheat exercises to build power, but then at the same time, they would come up with some very strict execution. So, I mean, if I had to categorize it, I would just say just a little bit more complexity and nuance. I do think a lot of that kind of disappeared with the popularization of fitness and bodybuilding, and that, you know, that nuance and variety could involve more strict form. It could involve less strict form in some cases. As far as RDLs, I not even. I haven't done like a standard deadlift other than, you know, it's just a lift up for a Zercher in so long. I don't even remember exactly how to do it. I never focused that much on the technique. But I mean, for me, when I do an RDL, I definitely keep my lats very locked. I'm trying to keep a little bit of spine extension, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to keep maximal tension on the hamstring. I'm trying to lengthen the hamstring maximally, so I'm not trying to allow any my back to take off any of that tension. And also, I do so much spinal flexion in my training. You know, I might as well have one exercise where I just maximally resist flexion, if that makes sense. And I find that actually really does make it into a good lat exercise. I actually get a ton of lat stimulus when I do RDLs that way, because I am, you know, using my lats actively to lock everything in and resist flexion. I actually feel my lats way more doing a light RDL with, you know, with a little extension with my lats locked in to resist any and all flexion. That's definitely not what I do when I pull conventional, but I also don't feel my lats when I pull conventional. Knees over toes, guys, sled pulls. So I love the principle. I mean, the principle is, everyone should understand that principle, and I give him all the credit for introducing that principle, and just putting it out there commonly for everyone to know. Because, you know, before that, people didn't know, just, hey, if I have knee pain, I need to do kind of a short range quad exercise that pumps a bunch of blood into my knees, right? That's not something that a lot of people would have known at that time. That being said, there's a lot of setup involved. What if you don't have a sled? You know, I don't think it's necessarily the most feasible for a lot of people just because of the equipment requirements. I certainly don't use it because I don't have a sled. But I use the exact same principle. Let me show you how I do it. I'm going to try to share my screen with you. Actually, you know what? How am I going to do this? Okay. See, we're working out the kinks here. Let me, this is gold. Wait, it'll be worth the wait. Let me see. How's this going to work? I don't know how this is going to work. Okay. Okay. Give me a second. I don't know if you guys can. Yeah. I'm trying to get a video off my channel and put it on screen. I don't know how that's going to work exactly, but we will. Just bear with me. I promise this is going to be totally worth it. I just have to actually figure out the technical stuff. But this exercise is gold. And it does the exact same thing as these upper toes guys thing, but it's going to be more, it's going to be an easier thing to set up for most of you guys, I believe. And it's just so much more convenient. I do it every time I'm doing knees. God damn it. Sorry, guys. Got some great content here and like zero technical ability to actually get it out. Very much a boomer when it comes to this stuff. God damn it. How the hell? Yeah, so I totally. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. All right, no, that's not what I'm doing. All right. Let me okay. You guys still with me? Okay, I'm going to try sharing my screen and showing you the exercise. Let's see if this works. Is this working? Okay. All right. Where was I? All right. All right. Yeah. At this rate, it probably would be easier for me to just go ahead and go down. So this Spanish squats is actually insane, but I've actually used it for clients too. I think it worked out pretty well. So as you can see, I've got my knees supported by a fairly heavy resistance band. You want to make sure it's a fairly sturdy one because you're trusting your life to it. Also, make sure that your shoes are fairly grippy. That's one reason I love the Vibrams. They have the best tread in the business because you could easily slip if you have too much band tension. Now, what this is doing, not only is it allowing you to lean back further, like I'm demonstrating now, but it's also giving you resistance to pull your knees back against at the top of the movement, like you see here. This part is still loaded, and you can just pull back on the band and get a lot of tension in your quads. You can do just like this, like that upper portion, just do it for a lot of reps, pump a bunch of blood in there. You can go lower as you feel comfortable. But basically use this exercise that I'm demonstrating here, the Spanish squat, as a warm-up for any kind of knee exercise, and this is a game changer. Just pumping all that blood into your knees, absolutely is incredibly important for any kind of more advanced training. Like if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen me doing all the reverse Nordics, sissy squats, all that good stuff. My knees are pretty much 100% squared away because of that stuff. And that's the Spanish squats I do are always my warm up every time. I need to do a video on that. I mean, I have this like private video or whatever, but I need to do like a public video on that. But anyway, to answer the question, I really like knees over toes guys concept. I just think there's a much more convenient way for most folks that aren't at a well-equipped gym to go ahead and get that benefit. Okay. I'm kind of behind now. That took way too long. Am I familiar with arm wrestling? Bro, I have no idea how to train for that. Every time I drunkenly arm wrestle my friends, I end up with a bunch of tendonitis and sadness. One of my buddies is just like this monster of a dude. He's like 300 pounds without looking. He doesn't look, other than his incredible calves and quads, he doesn't look like incredibly jacked. He doesn't look fat. He's just 300 pounds. Like he was just built to be 300 pounds. Like huge hands, huge wrists, huge forearms. And, give me a few drinks and I challenge him to arm wrestling. Then I have tendonitis for a couple months. So I have no idea about arm wrestling. That stuff is insane to me. All my stuff would snap. How much do you think is your bench PR? I hope I could get 315 now, but I wouldn't bet anything super important on it. A lifetime 385 touch and go, not the cleanest, but that was back in the day. I haven't really benched in quite some time, and I would hope that I could hit 315, but I wouldn't promise it. What lift will I prioritize tomorrow? It's a good question. I'm probably gonna try for long range dips. I'm gonna see if I can make that work. I have a little bit of a right shoulder issue that I'm pulling out of, so we'll see if that works. To that end, I'm going to be doing some Kelly snatch, at least as a warm up. I don't think I'm going to hit any big numbers because my low back is kind of fatigued, but I'm going to be doing some Kelly snatch as a warm up for those dips because those are always a really great warm up for my shoulders. You get some work for the rear delts and some stability in the shoulder at the same time as you're getting a nice little weighted stretch on the bicep tendon, which is the cause of a lot of shoulder issues. And usually, for whatever reason, and this happens to a lot of people and happens to me, whenever anything, no matter how unrelated it seems, happens to my shoulder, it's always just like, it almost like teleports. Like I'll hurt my shoulder in some way that doesn't even seem related, and it'll just like it may be like somewhere completely unrelated. It'll just like teleport into my bicep tendon. It's weird, you know. It's like a video game where like someone gets shot, and then like just because of how it's designed to register, like it shows the bullet hole in a different place. That's how my shoulders are. It's just like, oh, this wasn't even related to my bicep tendon. Too bad you have bicep tendonitis. So anyway, Kelly snatch and the long range dips, and whatever. Probably some incline curls as well. Stretch all that good stuff out. And, some whatever tricep work. Did John Grimmick work at a foundry or steel mill? I think I saw the post you're talking about. That's about the same amount of information that I have. I would assume so, but I don't really know. How to stop subscribing to OnlyFans girls? Please, I need help. I've never really had that issue. I don't really get why you would have to, because like I'm not in favor of this, but if that was something you were interested in, like, you can get it without paying, right? Not that I'm saying you should. I'm gonna say you shouldn't, but if you do, you could at least not pay for it, right? I don't know. Like that. I don't really. I mean, there's people who get into the psychology of it. I'm not really up on that stuff. If that's your issue, I would just say just it's free. Hope that helps, and probably doesn't, but damn, I would say it's better to. I mean, it's better to completely abstain, but if you're not going to abstain, it's better to at least not contribute to that economy, right? That would be my take on it. How would you suggest that one go about increasing reps for an exercise that one can only do for 1 rep? 1 arm chins. I mean, I'm not the expert on this. I've never fully gotten them. Most I got was, I got fairly close with like 1 arm and like holding onto a light resistance band, but I never fully got there. That might actually be a good project, but probably not this year. Generally, with the weighted calisthenic stuff, though, some kind of band assistance is really a good idea. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but that's how I've gotten to every good calisthenic movement that I've been able to do. Nordic curls, reverse Nordics, sissy squats. I should be doing some deficit handstand push-ups sometime this summer when my shoulder's fully healed. I was almost there at peak bulk, so I think dropping a little body weight, building a little strength. I'll be doing some deficit handstand push-ups, and all of that is just like band assistance. So I do think just gradually decreasing band tension, I think is the best way. But I mean, or just going completely outside of that and just finding other ways to just train the strength that you need. Whatever the weak point is, wherever you're failing at, whether it's your bicep or lat or whatever, just getting that area stronger. And obviously, for one-hand chin-ups, lighter you are, the better. Longest I've ever gone without sleep. I went a week where I had only two nights of that week. Like not a whole week, but like 5 days. I had like an hour, 2 nights, and the rest no sleep. So that's about the longest I've ever gone without sleep. Lat pull down machine. What's my opinion on the lat pull down machine? I mean, I don't like it as a general rule. I'd rather people be doing pull-ups. That being said, I mean, it can totally be used as part of a valid hypertrophy program. I would generally, like, if you're a beginner or an intermediate, I'm going to want to steer you away from it. I'm going to want to steer you towards doing, real pull-ups or maybe pullovers or rows or something I consider more of a real exercise, because I do think a lot of people tend to just default to machines as the path of least resistance. That being said, if I see some strong jack guy on a lat pull down, am I going to mess with him? No, of course not. I'm sure he's got a reason for what he's doing, right? So, just with stuff like that, you just have to be careful. Like, am I really doing this because this makes the most sense, or am I taking the path of least resistance? Because obviously doing pull-ups or pullovers or anything else like that is going to have some ancillary benefits to it. Whereas, lat pull downs, pretty much screw your lats. And only if you actually, have the work ethic, which if you are using it to avoid doing work, you're not going to grow them anyway because you're not going to train that hard. So it's just that's kind of my take on the lat pull down. Gregory Bowman, I appreciate your purchase. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy it. Hex bar, safety squat bar, and Swiss bar. Hex bar, to be honest, I kind of hate the hex bar for the exact same reason that I and even more so. I think the hex bar is really, overall, it's a very negative thing. Not that it can't be used well, but in general, people tend to use it because it lets them pretend that they can deadlift when they're not able to deadlift. Oh, but I have a bad back. Okay, then why don't you take some weight off the bar and fix your back? You can do that, right? You realize you can actually rehab your back. If you're injured, you don't have to just avoid a movement. You can fix it. So do that. But what the trap bar does is allow people, instead of take weight off the bar and fix themselves, add even more weight on and pretend they can keep doing what they want to do. So all they're doing is strengthening their ability to get themselves into trouble and resisting actually building the ability to get themselves out of trouble. You're strengthening the parts that are going to lift that heavy load that's going to then compromise your back even more, when really what you need to do is use light weights through build up that strength to begin with, rehab, just whatever you can't do, figure out how to fix it. And if you can't do it on your own, go hire somebody that can help you. There are plenty of good PTs out there that will help you fix your back. That's a much better alternative than a hex bar. That being said, obviously, if some insanely jacked strongman who deadlifts 800, 900 pounds is on a hex bar, I'm not going to be saying anything to him. I'm sure he's using it for a valid purpose, and there are valid purposes for it. But I think for every time you see some really strong guy doing 900 pounds on it, you see 100 guys pretending they can deadlift 500 on it, when really they need to be going down to 135 on a straight bar and just figuring out how to actually do the movement. Because you can't bend down and pick up something that's in front of you, not evenly positioned around you. You're not physically fit. You need to do the basics before you deadlift, right? That's my opinion on the hex bar. Safety squat bar, I really like. Honestly, that's how I used to do a lot of my squats. Back in the day when I went to the gym, it works so well with breathing squats because you have a perfect rest position, so you can take that extra breath to grind out those extra reps. I mean, I worked up to 350 for 20 on safety bar squats, and I mean, God, what a grinder! I think it's a great bar. Swiss bar, I mean, I haven't really used it much myself, but I can totally see the utility, so I think it's a great option. I haven't used it that much. I'm probably going to have to cut this short in maybe 10 minutes or so, just to let you guys know. So I probably won't get to everything. Oh, wow. I'm very much a boomer. You're responding to a comment from way back in the day. Yep, Spanish squats. Yes. So sissy squats are more, that's actually been my main quad building exercise this bulk. And even though I haven't been doing squats, and I was kind of doing that to put quads in the back burner because I don't even care anymore. I think they still grew. They're definitely more defined than they used to be. Yeah. So I'll use Spanish squats as a warm up for the sissy squats, because sometimes they don't feel perfect if I jump straight into them. But if I do the Spanish squats first before the sissy squats and then warm up gently with bands, I'll usually, anytime I'm doing sissy squats, even if I'm doing them unassisted for my main sets, I'm going to be using bands to warm up. But yeah, I do the Spanish squats as my first warm up, and that works really well. Yeah, sissy squats are fantastic. In my book, I refer to them as the RDL for the quads, and that should tell you how highly I esteem them. What barefoot shoes do I use? I use Vibrams. And that's a shame, because I'm kind of kicking myself in the foot financially by doing that, because everybody else in the barefoot game is out there giving out sponsorships and want to send me stuff and want me to try their product, but I'm kind of spoiled. Vibrams have the best soles in the game, the best traction in the game. Even people who don't do barefoot shoes, like other companies, buy their soles to for boots and stuff, just because they have the best tread material. It's so sticky. And I've gotten kind of spoiled with that. I go on a lot of hikes with my kids, wet terrain, steep terrain. I feel like I almost have traction control in Vibrams. I feel like I'm going to slip like the moment before I do it. I can catch myself. There's something else. And when you have those moments where you like you almost slipped, but you didn't, and you're holding your 30-pound toddler and you saved it, you get enough of that, you get kind of attached to those shoes, and you're not going to tolerate anything else. So I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but I have been, I've had other minimalist shoes reach out to me, and I've tried them, and I unfortunately just cannot give up the Vibrams, and they don't seem to be giving out sponsorships. I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot on that, but they have the best product. I'm going to keep wearing them, and hopefully at some point I can actually get in contact with them. I think I can make some really good promotional material for them, but that's where we're at. I've been really bad about monetizing all this stuff. I've got way too many followers on Instagram for how little money I'm making off of it. But now that I have the book out, that's what's making me money. So I do appreciate everybody that's selling me the book, or that's buying the book. But anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Peter Kacharian, yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff. Yeah, Spanish squats are fantastic. I got them from Lucas Hardy, my coach. But yeah. God, man, now I'm looking back through the comments, seeing how far behind I am. What kinds of things do you do in your training to avoid getting injured? That's going to go into basically two categories. One is doing like mobility and just generally balancing out all the stuff I do. Like, good example, like I've been making a lot of tricep gains this bulk. It's kind of been, see where I'm supposed to flex, especially this kind of long head area back here, I think. What made that happen? I mean, it's not hard to grow your triceps. Everybody knows what grows your triceps. I've known for years that like incline French presses make my triceps crazy sore. Wow, that's not complicated. You do some good pressing, and also full range dips, all that good stuff. Ain't complicated. You know what builds triceps. I mean, most people do. Not complicated. What threw me off and what throws most people off is elbow pain, right? So what ended up working there, the secret, I mean, this didn't grow my triceps, obviously, but the secret was to just do a bunch more wrist work. In my forearm routine, I implemented some. This would be a good video I need to do. But just all the other motions of the wrist you never train, the radial and ulnar. God, what's the freaking whatever? Radial and ulnar deviation. They've got to come up with some. Like, they do this stuff just to sound smart. These freaking these anatomists, they do this just to sound smart. They've got to come up with like a more user-friendly way of saying, like, turn your fucking wrist this way, turn your fucking wrist that way, But either way, radial and ulnar deviation. Oh my God, supination and pronation. Why can't we use like regular words, like, right? But supination, pronation. And I've got a really good setup for those that they keep reminding me in videos. I will show this at some point because this is too good not to do. And I've been meaning to do it anyway, on my Instagram or on here, on both. Obviously, that ought to be better because this really was the secret to triceps to me. It's just doing the wrist work that I need to do, and I've got a really good way of setting it up that I'm going to show you guys. Also, the little finger expander things, the little rubber bands with the holes you put around your fingers. Just doing that regularly. Just kind of helped me manage the elbow pain, not entirely eliminate it, but manage the elbow inflammation enough to actually make some serious gains for the first time in like 10 years. I think my triceps grew a lot this fall, and it's not like any of the exercises I was doing were new. It's just that I could do them for more than 1 week in a row without getting all inflamed and everything. So that's part of it. And then definitely Another thing I wanted to mention on that, also, again, kind of like the Spanish squats I got from Alex Leonidas and Bald Omni Man. I forget which one of them, but kind of both of them have said this, and it really works well. The dual rope tricep press downs as a warm up is kind of like a feeder to get blood flow in the area. I don't have the cable set up, but I use bands. I hang up 2 bands. I'll show this as well. And just do the same motion, and it works fantastically to just kind of pump that area prior. So at a separate workout, I'll do all the wrist stuff I talked about, and then as a warm up prior to doing my tricep exercises, I'll do kind of my little approximation of the dual rope press downs as a warm up. And this is exactly the same concept. The Spanish squats, knees and elbows are very similar in a lot of ways. And between all that lets me get through the kind of training I need to do to build triceps. And, once you get to actually building them, incline French presses, lying, tricep extensions, not that complicated, but the complication is then just making your joints, prepared for that in many cases, right? That's a huge limitation for a lot of people. So that's one aspect, just making sure you're training everything you ought to be training, right? For a lot of people that might be ankle rotation stuff to get your knees squared away, et cetera, et cetera. If you're having shoulder issues, you might need to improve some function of your shoulder mobility. You might need to do some pullovers to increase your overhead mobility, or if you're more like me, you might need to do some external rotation training. God, my form looks tiny there. You can see my external rotation is still kind of trash. And I've been working on it, but every time I injure him, I'll get it to a good place, and then every time I injure my shoulder, it's like, I get right back to here, so then I have to build it back up. But anyway, a lot of that stuff is very helpful for avoiding injury. And then the other thing is simply exercise rotation. Just don't beat yourself up in the exact same way every week. You'll be surprised what you can get away with if you do a little bit of rotation. A little kind of conjugate principle, except I don't do like 1 rep maxes. I'm not a power lifter. But you'll be surprised if you do like Xerxer squats to failure 1 week, and then you do back squats to like 0 reps in reserve the next week. They're not stressing you in exactly the same way. Same thing. Even something as silly as I found like rotating between incline French press and lying tricep extensions. I mean, it's not that big of a difference, but it changes the stress point just a little bit. Changing up your angles and whatnot, just change up the proximate stress. A lot of this like CNS burnout thing where it's all like this general thing you've just lifted too much is absolute nonsense in my opinion. You can if you just change up the exact failure point, then you can do a whole lot more than you think you can. So that's my how to avoid getting injured. This is cool. Where am I? Optimal diet for lifting. Japanese sumo print, dude. That's crazy. I respect the sumo wrestlers because I feel like bulking, like giga bulking like that on soup, that's hard, man. I'd want to be eating a bunch of like candy and stuff if I was trying to get up to like 300 pounds. I don't know if I can do it on soup, to be honest with you. That's crazy. So if you're talking about bulking, I mean, you want to eat mostly clean because you don't want too much inflammation. You don't want to be eating a bunch of like seed oils and trans fats and garbage like that, because inflammation is what's going to cut your bulk short. Joint pain, either that or just storing too much body fat and getting low T. But also you don't want to be like super paleo or anything, because you're going to have a hard time eating the calories, obviously, depending on the person. If you just naturally pack on weight easily, you might want to be a little bit more clean. If you naturally are skinny, you might want to be a little bit more cheap. But don't be like a complete nihilist with like if it fits your macros. I mean, you probably still shouldn't be eating like the freaking peanut butter that's got the trans fats. Don't be a nihilist with it. And then obviously you use your cutting time as the time to just restore your health and get rid of any inflammation and issues that you had while bulking. But I mean, obviously lots of animal protein, but if you overdo it and you're the type that's naturally skinny, you may just have a hard time hitting those calorie surpluses because, obviously animal protein is extremely satiating. So just kind of balance it out to whatever your tendency is. Thank you. Thank you for the t-shirt compliment. Yeah, my wife got it for me. She thought it was cute. Yeah, thank you. Delight CR, do you do rows often? More often than I used to. I've never been a huge fan of rows. I don't like them, but that's why I'm kind of doing them now, because I know that I like probably what I've been ignoring for a long time. I should probably just try to get good at. I've been doing a lot of the golden era style rows, which is I think what they're calling these days a flexion row. So you're basically using a deficit. I have my feet. You have the bar basically down to your feet. You're completely bent over, and then you come up to. I'll demonstrate. If you're doing the straight up golden era style row, you're going to come from kind of a bent over flexion position, like to an extension as you pull up. I'm kind of sore from back day, so my hamstrings are not letting me get in position. It'd be more bent over. Oh my god, this is terrible. Anyway, you're gonna kind of come up into extension like so, and come back down. Interestingly, the silver era guys would do it like this. They would just stay bent over the whole time and just do it with a downward torso angle. I like those more than conventional rows. Like I've never been able to get that much out of Yates rows, unfortunately. I like the idea. I want to be able to like heavy rows, but I don't get a whole lot out of Yates rows, so I've never really done them much. Pendlay rows were the only like modern row that I ever liked, but I wasn't a huge fan of them. Well, yeah. Why the boomer shirt? Well, because I've got two little girls. That's why. Streaming cutout is this. Okay. Let's get back. Each person. Okay, this is a good one. As an ex-morbidly obese person that's about to do his first bulk, I'm a bit nervous to start it. Not going to lie, any advice? I think I'm just nervous because part of me is afraid to go back, I guess. Okay, I've never been morbidly obese. Actually, technically, I got there when I bulked for powerlifting, but I wasn't what you'd think of as morbidly obese. Just BMI, because BMI is stupid, right? I'm assuming you've lost the weight if you're I mean, you're ex-morbidly obese, you lost the weight. So you know you can lose the weight. That's a good start. You just have to have confidence that you can do it again. And I do get that, because every time I bulk, I would be like, hey, can I really do this again? Yes, you can. And what's more, you can do it more easily, probably, because as you continue, you'll learn more and more effective strategies, and you'll get to the point where it gets easier and easier. Like now it's pretty much, I'm not going to say effortless, but it is very low effort for me to cut. Very low effort. I actually prefer it to bulking now. It's easier. And I'm just, full disclosure, I think I'm very middle of the road. I'm not naturally skinny. I'm not naturally obese. I think if I did nothing, I'd just be a little chubby. I wouldn't get huge, but I wouldn't be like super. I wouldn't be ripped either. I'd be, like kind of regular. I'm very regular, So as to actual advice on the bulk, go higher protein. You're probably one of these people who naturally has a fairly high appetite. Is going to have trouble packing on calories. So just go really high protein, probably more than the guides would say you need. In theory, there's a chance that maybe less of that will store as fat. But even if not, it'll satiate you more, so you have the experience of trying to eat more, but not, getting crazy and like completely losing control, if that makes sense. It'll kind of rein you in a little bit. Just that way you don't have to count calories or anything. You can just focus on a lot of protein and rein yourself in. I do that, and I think it works very well. Yeah. Wrist side bend, poster child wrist side bends. Yeah, that would be easier. The finger bands. The finger bands definitely help. It's crazy how that works, but it really does. Yeah, I'm gonna have to head out in a minute. I'm just trying to answer a couple more before I go. Ring rows. No, I'm not too strong to do them. I've gotten a lot out of them. I don't know if you guys are on Instagram, but I was posting a ton of them like a couple of years ago on Instagram. That like ring rows were a huge staple for me. I still do them from time to time, but I don't set up the rings as much these days. But depending on what variation you set up, they can be good for even very strong people. Like I really like the archer rows are a big favorite of mine, where you do one row straight up. Sorry, let me set this up. You do one row out kind of as a rear delt fly, and the other one pull in and then switch. I really like those, and those are challenge anyway. Yeah, ring rows are fantastic. Community that you guys can join. Do you have a community that we can join? I'd like discussing, seeing how others incorporate lifts. That's a really great question. I need to look into that because, like I've been kind of saying in some of this other stuff with the video stuff, I'm kind of a boomer with all this tech stuff. I've gotten a pretty good social media presence, like purely on lifting and writing ability, which are very old school abilities. I would have to figure out how to administer a forum or like create one or what you do with that. I would like to do that. I just have to figure out how. I know that's a way that that's something that some people use to monetize, and I am looking for ways to kind of monetize this thing and make a full-time living in fitness, trying to figure out what my path is going to be for that. The book is definitely a good start. I'm getting, consistent sales on that, and that's good income. I think that's gonna pad the transition into making a living full-time off this stuff. But I do have to figure out some other stuff, and that might be an option. I don't know if that would be paid or not. I don't really know what the best practices are in this industry. I'll have to, I'll talk to some people and try to figure out what I'm doing. But yes, that's a really cool idea. I have thought of that, and I know some people do that. I think some people do it as a mild subscription fee option. Other people don't. I mean, at this point, anything I'm going to devote that much effort into, I'm going to have to be monetized, like finding some way to make money out of it, whether it would be like pay to enter or not. I don't even know what the best industry standard is on that, but it's something that I would be interested in looking into if I could monetize it. And I'm not trying to be greedy. Just I'm trying to move into making a living off fitness. So that's kind of what my priorities are, is finding something that I can monetize. But yeah, that's that's a good idea. I would like to do that. I just have to see if it's something that seems like the effort of learning a new skill that I don't currently have would pay off. But yeah, I mean, and long term, I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point. I'm in a period right now where I'm just trying to figure out where to direct my attention, what's going to kind of almost buy me enough time to, implement other strategies. I think probably the first thing I'm going to do is write a second book, much shorter, much cheaper, just on fat loss strategies, because I do think I've got some good stuff to share there. I'm not dogmatic or ideological like a lot of these diet gurus, but at the same time, I've used a lot of stuff that is unconventional, not your standard food pyramid stuff that I think works really well, makes stuff a lot easier than it has to be. A lot of people make it a lot harder than it has to be. Rather, it can be a lot easier than people think. And I think making that into a short ebook, hopefully, that will be both of use to some people and something people would buy. And so I'm thinking, if I can get a couple options out there for e-commerce, that'll give me a little padding to work on. Bigger projects like maybe a forum, or also just, putting more time and energy into, putting out YouTube content and trying to grow on here with something to actually use this as a marketing vehicle for, if that makes sense. But yeah, forum is a cool idea, and I would like to do it at some point. Okay, I hope that didn't come off as too whatever. Anyway. Let me skip to the next question. Is there a huge difference between, I'm trying to scroll down. Yeah, you guys are asking me for a forum, and I can't even figure out how to scroll down in the comments. So that should be, I don't know if that's of any use. What the hell? Yeah. I mean, you guys are definitely getting me outside of my skill tree. I can't even scroll down into the comments without assistance. So, I mean, good luck getting a forum out of me, but I will definitely make an effort to do it. And I have had a lot of people reach out to me and offer technical services. So maybe I should avail myself of that and get something cranked out. But anyways, this question from 2J Magic is there a huge difference between Searcher Good Mornings and Jefferson curls? Yes, definitely. I mean, a Searcher Good Morning, I would actually call it a Searcher RDL at that point, because I mean, all you're doing is an RDL. I mean, what does the Searcher hold in the first place? It's basically just a way of shortening your effective arm length. It's, you know, if you're holding the bar in your arms, except instead of holding them at full length, you're having the length of your arm, which, you know, has some advantages, right? If you want to hit greater depth on the deadlift, obviously, if you half the length of your arm, you can hit greater depth, and that's the only reason that I do Jefferson curls in the Searcher hold, because if I didn't do that, I'd have to find something to stand on and somehow, you know, get a 300-pound bar, climb up this, you know, some rickety platform, and then dangle off of it with a 300-pound bar. I don't want to do that, so that's why I hold it in the crooks of my arms, so my arms can just be naturally shorter, right? Same thing with Searcher deadlifts. Are you gonna? I mean, do you really want to do like a 2-foot Searcher? Do you want to do like a 1.5-foot deficit, or do you want to just shorten your arms, right? So yeah. To me, it would be more just like an RDL. But the thing for me with RDLs, I never do them Searcher style, because the bar wouldn't contact the ground even when I hold in my hands, you know. So you know, I just don't really see the purpose, honestly. Some people, like, when you start doing Searchers, like, they're cool and they're fun, and it's like this, you know, cool thing, but you know, when you get into it, you're really just trying to shorten your arm. So if it's an exercise where the bar wouldn't contact your arms, why not just hold it in a easier way? I'd rather just do an RDL with straps, to be honest with you, or a Good Morning if you happen to like that. I've never liked Good Mornings as much as RDLs personally, but everyone, you know, because you kind of cut out all the lat activation and all that good stuff that you can get with an RDL when you do the Good Morning. More neck work. Neck work is also very good, but I would just generally do a regular RDL in that case. But yeah, if you're doing like a Good Morning or something, generally those exercises you're not trying to flex the spine. Whereas with the Jefferson curl, no matter what grip you're using, whether you're using, we're going to use a sparkling water can here as my weight, whether you're using the Searcher grip or whatever the case may be, you're deliberately trying to flex the spine as much as possible. So we're going to start with the head, round that as much as I can, flex through the shoulders, round them as much as I can, and then just like sequentially go down and down and down and down. Let's see. See, I still have a nice flat spot in my lower back. It's kind of stiff, but anyway, you see what you're doing there. Like you're deliberately getting rounding in, whereas obviously on I mean, I guess some people do a round back Good Mornings, but oh my goodness, where's your mother? Where is your mother, small child? Oh my. Okay, yeah. Oh my goodness.
He did this by himself.
Oh my goodness. Oh no. All right. Sorry, give me a second. My 2-year-old picked the lock. All right, you want me to just get her close? Here. Thank you, kid. Oh my god. Yeah, sorry, my kid picked the lock. I'm gonna have to wrap this up in a second anyway. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I'll get the 10K video out soon. I just wanted to do this because I've got a I'm gonna do a video with Ben the Barman and GVS tomorrow, and just want to make sure I have an actual mic that works for it. And I was thinking about doing the 10K video live. don't know if that makes sense to do, but I want to just test it out and see if that's something that makes sense. I may not do it live this time just because I'm obviously struggling with this format, but I may do it. We'll see. Best question. Dude, human body, dog head. I got an answer for you, buddy, but I'm not gonna spoil it on this one. Discord server, it's a cool way to make community. Sorry, dude. Every time I try to read one of your comments, like this little thing, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Every time I try to let me see. Every time I try to read one of your, and now it's not doing it. Like this little thing pops up, and I don't know how to get rid of it. So that's why I was like struggling so much. And now as soon as I share my screen, it's just like it's not even doing it anymore. Discords, yeah. Okay, now I won't do it. I don't know what the hell. Okay. Do a Discord server if you want a cool way to make a community. I'll look into that. I don't know what that is, but maybe I can ask NH how that works. God, now it's doing it. Okay. Damn it. Every time I try to share the screen, it goes away. It's like, maybe, well, that's how I get this thing to go away. Ooh, oh, that's clever. So if you buy the book, you get invited to the Discord server. So it's like it would have like a link in there. I mean, that's cool. I mean, I guess you could just copy and paste the link, but whatever. If people want to do that, they can. Okay, that's actually a cool idea. I will look into that. That's actually a very smart idea. I assume other people probably do that. Suchi, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you love the book. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's exactly, as far as freedom and autonomy, that's kind of exactly what I want to do. I mean, a lot of people put out kind of limited information because they're worried about like beginners getting confused or giving people advice that could potentially get them injured or something. I try to give people, the best tools possible, even if it is a little bit more complicated, and hope that they can, use them correctly. So that's kind of where I bias towards, is just putting it out there and giving people the choice to use it if they want, and just hope that they use it well. So I hope that's what you're going for. But anyway, if so, I'm glad it hit that way. And yeah, I agree. Yeah, Mohammed's Discord idea was great. I mean, this is completely outside my wheelhouse, but I will try to figure out how to set that up and make that a thing. Oh yeah, my 2-year-old is crazy talented. She went to a doctor's appointment recently. Supposedly she's she's supposed to be stringing like 3 words together. She speaks in like whole nuanced sentences with like adverbs, adjectives, all kind of parts of speech. I have to go back to the old days of conjunction to try to even remember what to even call them. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I have to treat people as if they can think and like use information effectively. And I think that's like the most underserved niche in fitness right now, because so much is targeted at the lowest common denominator. People are, because that's the biggest audience. Everyone wants to target towards beginners. I mean, but the way I think, if somebody can't just figure out that they need to actually show up to the gym regularly for long periods of time to actually get results, and they need to have their hand held through that, it's all about consistency. Oh, just stick to the basics. It's all about consistency. Don't worry about any advanced stuff. Just do the basics consistently for years. Like, if you can't figure that out, I don't think I can help you anyway. So I'd rather try to help people that are a little bit more, have a little bit more agency, and honestly have a higher peak they can aspire to. So that's kind of where I bias towards. And I do think that people who are like that are really underserved, because most of the information out there is for, people that you really have to just hold their hands. And I don't know. Can you even help those people? I don't know if you can, but somebody who's got agency and can take some more complicated information and make good decisions with it. That's who I care about the most, because a lot of times they're kind of like the gifted kids that just kind of end up getting bad grades because nothing's directed at them and they get bored. You know what I mean? Ooh, that is a tough one. Hersoviak versus GBS. Who's got the better physique? That's tough. I'd honestly, I'd have to see them. I'd have to see them do a pose down IRL, which, I mean, I don't know if it would happen in China or in France, but like we tend to judge people off of pictures a little bit too much, because obviously we're online. And that's where things are. You see people in pictures, but seeing a picture of someone is completely different than seeing even a picture of them standing beside the person. Like so many people are really up in arms about what was 1980 Mr. Olympia, the controversial one. They say Mike Mincer should have definitely won. Arnold was terrible. And like, I get it if you look at pictures of Mincer just looking shredded, and then you look at pictures of Arnold, and maybe he's not the best shape of his life. But then you look at pictures of him standing side by side, and like Arnold is just dwarfing the guy with like sheer size. Just, I mean, it looks like a fitness model standing next to a bodybuilder. So even though I'm sure it was rigged, but you can kind of see how it changes the game to see them standing side by side. And I'm not an Arnold fan. I don't have any. I'm not in favor of either of those men in terms of character. Neither one of them had any kind of character to speak of, but just purely physicality. You see things when people stand side by side that you don't see just comparing pictures. So if we just look at pictures, I would say Hersoviak definitely. And he's probably, I think he's going to win on completeness. I mean, his back is just incredible, and there are no weak points in his physique whatsoever. But I don't think he's quite as tall. And I know with tall guys, they tend to have kind of that Sasquatch size where they look bigger. Like taller guys tend to look a little bit bigger in real life. Shorter guys tend to look a little bigger in pictures. I don't think Hersoviak's short necessarily. I just don't think he's quite as tall as GBS. But I would have to see them. Like actually side by side. I feel like to adequately judge that. I'm leaning towards Hersoviak just because I think is more balanced. You can't find any point on him and say, oh yeah, he needs to bring that up. He looks phenomenal, but it could be that some different things would be revealed if you saw them in real life as opposed to in pictures. And all that being said, I think we're not even seeing GBS at his max level. He's got a lot of size left to put on, which is the scary part, because his best developed parts are like his arms and his legs, and his back has made big strides recently. But that being said, he's got a lot of mass that he can still put on his back. So we haven't even seen his final form, and just his chest. Like as far as like the torso muscles that most of us get easier, like that's pounds and pounds of muscle right there. So we'll see moving forward. But yeah, I don't think it's fair to judge people if you're not seeing them actually stand side by side unless there's like an obvious winner. Yeah, and just because I'm saying like someone's shorter, that doesn't mean they're not the better bodybuilder, because there are plenty of times where shorter guys getting on stage with a taller guy and he looks better, but that is just kind of making that point. Another really good example that I saw recently, and I've even thought about making a video or post on it, is Dave Draper. In most pictures just of him, he doesn't look that incredible. There are a couple where he looks incredible, but most of them, he doesn't look that incredible. But then you find a picture of him standing next to Arnold, and he's got Arnold looking log. He's just looking like a Yeti up there next to Arnold, So you see things in actual real life comparisons that you don't in individual pictures. Dude, I don't follow arm wrestling. Wait, it's just, yeah, I don't know who's going to win that one. Any advice for working around knee pain? Okay, so knee pain advice, I don't mess with it. If you're well, first of all, like I'm not a PT or anything, so don't take too much advice from me. Like different joints I treat differently. But with knees, if anything's hurting, I call it. I'm not going to push through any kind of knee pain. I recommend giving it a little bit of a break and then just trying to find something that you can do without pain that's going to get that area exercise, get blood flow into it. The Spanish squats, not necessarily squatting all the way down, but just going like that top little range of motion and really getting your money's worth out of pulling the band back. So you're getting a lot of tension to that top part, which normally would be the easiest and which is usually the least stressful part. That's a really good way to reintroduce the movement, and then just very gently and gradually reintroduce additional range from there without hurting. That would be my recommendation for knee pain. But yeah, that's not one you want to generally push through, I would say. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to cut it short here in just a second. Got time for maybe one more question, but that's about it. I don't know if I can. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll. I can't tell if I'm not scrolling down or what the case is here. Okay, well, anyway, yeah, I'm gonna call it here. This is a lot of fun. I'm gonna keep doing these. This is because I don't. It's better that I hear from you guys what you guys are interested in than just purely trying to figure out from my own head like what people are interested in, because I'll just go down whatever rabbit hole I go down, and you'll end up hearing about the true age of the Sphinx or something. But anyway, yeah, I'll keep doing these, and hopefully we'll get smoother as I learn the process here. And yeah, the 10K Q&A will definitely be out soon, hopefully in a little bit smoother. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I appreciate you guys bearing with me as far as the technical stuff, and yeah, I'll be doing this whenever I get a chance. And yeah, I'll look into the Discord and everything. Sorry. Yeah. I've got a lot going on there already, so it's got to bounce around and try to figure out what space it can find for its own. But yeah, I'll look into the Discord thing. That's a really good idea. I'm sure I can find someone who can help me do that. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to end it here. So thanks for watching, and you guys have a great rest of your day.